Uganda is in China negotiating for financing for her mega infrastructure projects. Now this comes at a time when Uganda is grappling with a debt burden and a trade balance in favor of Beijing. Has Uganda calculated this move very well? Uganda owes China 1.6 billion US dollars, which is an equivalent of 6 trillion shillings as of March 2018. Now this accounts to 21.8% of Uganda's total external debt. But even though China is Uganda's second largest trading partner, by 2017, her exports to China were valued at only 30 million US dollars and imports at 811 million US dollars. So this leaves a trade deficit of 781 million US dollars. Uganda's motive in China is to seek China's assistance in building the standard gauge railway to link Uganda to Malaba border. Economists, however, say that Uganda's economy is highly indebted by Chinese and more loans could plunge the economy in a debt distress.
So we will end up with debts that we cannot pay, because debts are not paid by the roads. Debts are paid by what do you use the road for. And I don't think we have opened up that. So the debt is already stressing and it's going to continue stressing us until we address that other side of the story.
Uganda Debt Network, a local organization that champions for debt relief, argues otherwise.
Germany has got the biggest debt in Europe, but it also has got the best performing and biggest economy in the region, in the European Union. So similarly for Africa, the challenge is not so much, or Uganda in particular, so much about borrowing. But borrowing for what?
Uganda's finance ministry has for long been under pressure to slow down the growth of public debt, with civil societies raising its concerns. Uganda's debt to China as of March 2018 stands at 5.89% of the gross domestic product, GDP. With Uganda's appetite for external financing growing daily, raising questions as to whether this debt is sustainable.
The debt burden, to me, I think the debt burden as a nation is something that we need to look at in the context of what is the money being borrowed going to do. We've borrowed money to expand our international airport, so that we're able to handle more cargo.
China's willingness and limited conditions have made it easy for Uganda to acquire loans for huge infrastructure development. Economists, however, argue that most of these loans are obtained at relatively high rates and become expensive in the long run.
So we're going to see a switch of things going forward, that China will now come more with a trade dimension. You'll see more of Chinese products and goods using this same infrastructure to enter into Africa, which will cripple Africa's manufacturing capacity.
The assumptions on China as a new colonial power is far-fetched, economic experts argue.
That is a far-fetched fear that comes from people who, from a point of not being informed. There is a policy we are running on. We are promoting exports and substituting imports. That's the agenda we are doing. That's why we are doing industrialization. So there is no how China can flood our market with goods when we're already producing them.
For instance, that those goods and services being manufactured, that process is not happening in China, but rather happening here on our African soils, so that the Chinese company is able to utilize our Bujagari hydropower.
Now, putting the debt burden and trade balance aside, East African community states that are in China, Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya are not there with a common position on the East African Community-China Trade Pact. So in the end, what will this mean for the manufacturing sectors in all those East African countries? Kanare Mugume, NBS, Live at 9.